Sorry, I don't know. It's the gremlins. It's the gremlins. But this story
All
needs to be
good.
told, so we are going to continue.
All good. Where did I get to?
So
I don't even
you
know.
had finished your trip around the world, and you had discovered that
Yeah.
you had an eating disorder, and it had affected you so much that you had stopped menstruating. But you were like, "Hey, cool, let me
Woo.
try
Yeah,
this."
yeah. And honestly, I think that's a real, just like as a little aside, as a byproduct to what I went through. As teenagers, we're not educated nearly enough on how precious and important our menstrual cycles are. As teenagers, it's just like an inconvenience and things like the pill, we get thrown on the pill without really thinking about it or how long we're going to be on it and what happens if you stop menstruating and how hard it is to get it back. That is just another conversation that young women are not, they are not given the space to talk about that, and something needs to change, I think, in health. The health curriculum at high school, like girls just need to hand on heart value that, because I tell you, once you don't have it, you want it. So yeah, I got home and it really became apparent that this was just not sustainable and it was unhealthy and it was, completely disordered. And there was a lot of that not good enough kind of story going in my head, which is limiting in itself. So I started the road to recovery, I guess is what you would call it. And I was working with a naturopath, putting weight on. I was working with a therapist, sort of working out the mental side of this. But one thing that just wasn't budging was my period. Like I still wasn't menstruating, and it just nothing was kind of moving there. It would come and go and come and go and come and go. And this has basically gone on ever since. So I've gone up to 3 years with absolutely no sign of a cycle whatsoever. Before that, it was kind of on and off. And it was really interesting to me. I didn't realize it at the time, but now looking back on it, what I did was replaced the original not good enough of I'm not thin enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not feminine enough, that whole image side of not enough, with not being woman enough, because my body didn't function the way every other woman's did, and it didn't function the way a woman's body was supposed to. And it's really made me explore that idea of gender identity and how we try to measure up to this standard of what a woman should be, of what a man should be. And there's no kind of gray area in the middle. It's like you either fit the bill or you don't. And you're either super feminine or you're not woman enough, or, you're super masculine and you're not man enough, whatever it might be. There's so many different expectations on one gender or another. And then, I just think it's insidious. It's really, really insidious, and it starts to affect every area of your life. So I was finding it really difficult to relate to my female friends because I felt like I didn't measure up. I felt like a failure. It's like my body doesn't work the way it's biologically meant to. And it got me sort of talking to a few of my queer friends and their transgender friends, and sort of talking about this expectation that we put on ourselves to function in a certain way that a social standard of a gender is meant to function. And it really took a massive toll on me. It took a toll on my relationship, on my marriage. I felt like I couldn't relate to, my friends that were having children. Like I found it really insidious is the word. It kind of gets in there and screws with the way you relate to people and the way that you see yourself. And it's just replacing one not good enough with another, which is not helpful for anyone. But yeah, just to wrap it up, I guess from my personal experience, since COVID, lockdown, isolation, my creativity has gone through the roof, which I don't, the coincidence isn't lost on me, like bearing children is probably the most creative act that a woman can have. And since lockdown, my creativity in other areas has just blossomed and bloomed. And in March out of nowhere, after, I cannot tell you the amount of tests I've had and specialists I've been to who are just like, I don't know, it's just weird. Out of nowhere, out one day, period came back. And I was kind of worried. I'm like, oh, it's just a one-off. I'm not going to get too excited. But to give you too much information, last week, period came back. So I guess moral of the story is like taking the freaking pressure off fitting one box of what a gender should be. And I always like to remind myself, if I'm feeling not enough of a woman, to just go, okay, you don't feel enough of a woman, but like, how much of a human do you feel? Like, just measure yourself by being a really good human. And that's kind of all I wanted to say. So anyone out there that's listening, just measure yourself on being a good human.